Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So it's December 28th, 2020 in Hillsborough, North Carolina. And we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 23. If my glasses stop fogging up. Text 1. Shri Gopa Uchu Rama Rama Mahabaho Krishna Dusta Nibarhana Esha Vaibhata Tekshunas Tachchantim Karhumar Hataha. Please chant. Shri Gopaha Uchahu. The cowherd boys said, Rama, Rama. O Lord Rama, Lord Rama. That's Balaram. That's not Ramchandra. Or Parasuram. Mahabaho. O mighty armed one. Krishna. O Lord Krishna. Dushta. Of the wicked. Nirbarhana. O destroyer. Esha. This. I. Indeed. Badhate. Is causing distress. Shoot. Hunger. Naha. To us. Tatshantim. Its counteraction. Kartum arhataha. You ought to do. That's a should. You ought to do. Must do, right. Translation. The cowherd boy said, O Rama, Rama, mighty armed one, O Krishna, chastiser of the wicked, we are being harassed by hunger and you should do something about it. Purport. The cowherd boys jokingly implied that since Sri Krishna is the subduer of all bad things, the Lord should subdue their hunger by arranging for them to eat. In this statement by the cowherd boys, we observe the intimate, loving friendship they enjoyed with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jiva Goswami and Sanatana Goswami have written almost identical purport. Jiva Goswami says one further thing, and Sridhar Swami and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur don't say very much on this verse. So I'm going to read Jiva Goswami's commentary. Being hungry, taking support of their friendly mood, not giving heed to the fact that trees yielded all necessities. Didn't Krishna just tell them that? Right? You were reading that verse yesterday, Krishna Priya? How the trees were bending low with all their fruits. They didn't have, but here Jiva Goswami says that the trees give everything. They weren't giving anything. Well, because then the trees must have been facilitating this Leela. Because normally the trees give everything. The trees do all that service, but this time the trees were like, okay, we're not going to do anything so to facilitate this Leela. But aren't they all Kalpavriksha trees? Yeah, well then they must have been just part of the Leela. Like right now we're not going to give anything. All right. And that men should also give all things. Not taking heed to the fact that trees yielded all necessities and that men should also give all things, the boys begged Krishna for food when he brought them to another forest. O Rama, you should give us enjoyment. Right? Because Rama means pleasure. They repeat his name out of hunger. Right? That's what kids do, especially when they're hungry. Mommy, mommy, mommy. Right? I'm hungry. O Balaram with strong arms, you are capable of anything. Another version has Mahavirya with the same meaning. So Virya means hero. So you're a great hero or you have great arms. O Krishna, form of the highest bliss, it is not proper that your followers should suffer. Now, this is interesting. The cowherd boys say a very similar thing when they're caught in the forest fire. In the second forest fire, not the first one, but the second one, in the Ikachitavan forest with the cows. They say pretty much the same thing. They say it's not right for your devotees to suffer. Being more specific, they say, O chastiser of the wicked, Shruti says, Shut kalu vai manusyasya bratrivya. Hunger is the enemy of mankind. Destroy this hunger which is giving us pain. They pray to both out of affection. They call Balaram first and repeatedly, since Krishna is pleased when Balaram is respected, following the rules of etiquette. Krishna also instructs them to do this in verse 4. So in verse 4, Krishna is going to say that they should beg alms from the Brahmana in the name of Balaram. So they're asking the older brother out of etiquette. This hunger we are experiencing is intolerable. You are capable of giving it relief. You must do this. In reality, this is just play. So this sort of interaction between these devotees in Vrindavan and the Lord is very mysterious. And in most religions of the world, impersonalism is more or less taught because people just cannot understand these kind of dealings. If we look at the major religions of the world, so of course Judaism is very strongly impersonal. Islam is much more impersonal than Judaism. I mean, you know, if you thought it was bad in Judaism, then talk to a strict Muslim. It's intense. I mean, in the strict Muslims are so much into impersonalism that they will not allow any artwork to show any form of anything at all, even a flower. You cannot depict any form at all. All Islamic artwork is just abstract designs or words, like calligraphy, yes. And among the Orthodox Jews, you're allowed to have a picture like of some rabbi in your house. But the same thing, you know, they won't even have art of a flower. They won't even have art of, you know, some bowl of fruit or something like that. No form. We don't want to get into any form at all. So they're very extreme. And then you have within Christianity the idea that God has a form, but it's material. You know, the Lord comes as Jesus Christ and takes a material body. And other than that, the Lord is formless. So the Lord is formless, but if he has a form, it's material, which of course is one of the tenets of Mayavada philosophy. And then the Buddhists say that, you know, there's not even a God. There's not a self. There's not a God at all. Not even a formless God, not even a formless self. You know, you meditate and meditate till you realize you're the observer, and then you meditate until you realize there's not even an observer, and there's just nothingness. So this nirvisesha sunyavadi is very prevalent in the world in all different permutations and forms, because it's very, very difficult to understand these dealings between the Lord and his devotees on this highest level in Goloka Vrindavan. It looks like something contaminated in the world. It looks like, you know, we're dying of hunger. We're in great pain because of hunger. You ought to feed us, God. Why are you making us suffer? What's wrong with you? You know, this is the kind of worship that we are told is at a very low grade. Yes, this is the beginner's worship, the person who goes to God, right, to get rid of distress. The four neophytes who approach Krishna that he explains in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, those who are in distress, those who want wealth, those who are curious, and those who are already Brahman realized. And basically, you know, practically speaking, we can say that anyone who takes up bhakti is going to take it up from one of those motivations. You know, it's just what it is, or some combination. So those of us who came to the Krishna consciousness movement, some of us maybe were already Brahman realized. I've met maybe 5 people in ISKCON who were already Brahman realized. But generally, it's one of the other 3 categories. So maybe we were just really curious. We wanted our curiosity satisfied. Or maybe we were suffering terribly. Or maybe it was a combination of the two. Or maybe we're just like, you know, give me something. And it's very sweet. Srila Prabhupada writes in a purport in the 7th chapter, how when Krishna's praising these devotees, these beginning devotees, he says they're all magnanimous souls. And Prabhupada writes in the purport that they're asking the Lord out of affection. It's quite interesting that Prabhupada says that. So even if one's going to the Lord, please give me food, please give me money, please give me a house by the sea, Jai Jagadish Hari, whatever one is asking for, there's some affection. And therefore Krishna says they're all magnanimous souls. Now what we don't want to do is a complete merchant mentality, which Prahlad Maharaj condemns. Like you go to a shop, right? So I was looking for vegan organic fertilizer locally, so I went to Home Depot and they didn't have any. So I left, right? You go there, you ask for something and they don't have it. So you just leave. Or if they did have it, I'd pay the money and then I would leave. I'm not going there for a relationship with the owner of Home Depot, or the cashiers or something. I don't have affection for, I'm not thinking, oh, well, I really care about the people at Home Depot. And so, actually I do try to support local businesses other than Amazon if I can. Finally, I had to just get it on Amazon. But it's not so much that I'm going there out of affection. It's just business. So we don't want to do business with Krishna. We don't want to go to Krishna and go, Krishna, I'm hungry, give me food. And if he doesn't give us food, well, that useless, worthless God, what's the use of him? Why bother worshiping him? He doesn't give me food. Like Prabhupada talked about the women in Germany in World War II, where they were praying, please let my husband come home, my son come home, my father come home. And when they didn't come home, they became atheists. So that's like, Home Depot doesn't have the fertilizer I need for Tulsi. I'm not going to go there anymore. Useless store. And not like I just get what I want from God and then I'm finished. I was just hearing Prabhupada talk about that yesterday, where he was saying we have experience. People come to the Krishna consciousness movement, and when they get what they want, then they leave. They get their curiosity satisfied, maybe. I mean, we see people like that. They come to the movement, they learn the philosophy, their curiosity is satisfied, and then they, leave. Well, they may still affiliate to some extent. Oh, yeah, I accept the philosophy, but they're not interested in practicing once they have that realization. Or we had one godbrother in Chicago. His parents owned Playboy magazine, and they, you remember him? He was a very interesting person. He saw Prabhupada in Vrindavan, and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I have memorized the whole Bhagavad Gita. Would you like me to recite the whole Bhagavad Gita? And Prabhupada ignored him completely. There was at least one other devotee in the room, and Prabhupada just completely ignored this. He asked several times. And finally, Prabhupada turned to the other devotee and said, give him some practical work to do. Because Prabhupada could understand that he was very proud. Anyway, in Chicago, so both of his parents died in a plane crash, and he inherited millions of dollars, and then he was gone. He was just gone. That was it. We never saw him again. So Prabhupada says we have this experience that people come to Krishna consciousness for something material, and once they get it, they leave. Or if they don't get it, they leave. So that's a merchant mentality. And Krishna says in the 32nd chapter of the 10th canto that these merchants, he said it's worse to be a merchant than to have no loving relationships at all. He says there's no dharma, there's no friendship, there's no love, there's no happiness in a merchant relationship. How do we know we have a merchant relationship with anybody? That if they give us what we want, then we're done and we go. Or they don't give us what we want, we get angry and frustrated. And we see a lot of that even in our Hare Krishna movement, yes? Oh, the leaders didn't treat me the way I wanted. The town president didn't give me the respect that I deserve. I actually just went through this the last few days with some leaders where I was treated very disrespectfully. And, just like, okay, what am I here for? And then this morning, I was just thinking this past time here, Krishna gets treated disrespectfully. The cowherd boys in Krishna are treated disrespectfully by the brahmanas, by the yogic brahmanas. But that's the tendency, right? When someone treats me with disrespect, or they don't give me what I want, or they don't give me what I need, then I become angry, I become frustrated, I become critical. And we see, even in ISKCON, people will, especially the fawning devotees, isn't it? Oh, Gurudev, oh, Gurudev, oh, Prabhupada, oh, and then you don't get what you want. I hate you. They're all bogus. They're all this. They're all that. Right? We see this. So that's a symptom of a merchant mentality. When we find ourselves becoming angry and frustrated, and, I hate these people, our love turns to hate, it's a big symptom that we had a merchant mentality. So we're not supposed to ever go to Krishna with that kind of a mentality. That Krishna is what Prabhupada would call our order supplier. Entitlement, yes. The opposite of humility, isn't it? I'm a devotee. I mean, I just honestly, I fought like this. I remember when I was in the movement a couple years and I got really, 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 really sick. I mean, the reason I got really, really, really sick, it was in the Boston temple. We had a temporary altar that was like a set of stairs that was open underneath. And my service was to spray insecticide for cockroaches. We had more cockroaches in that temple than the whole population of the earth times 10. I mean, it was bad. You wake up in the morning, the walls were solid black. It was incredibly, incredibly bad. So they gave me professional level insecticide. And I had to crawl under the altar, which was like stairs. So I was in this extremely confined space with no respirator, no mask, no protection of any kind. And I was spraying with professional level insecticide. Plus, the temple was very poor, and so the prasadam was not up to standard. And basically, we just had like potatoes and rice and beans to eat most of the day. So we weren't getting proper vitamins. And anyways, I got extremely sick. And I just remember praying to Radha Gopi Ballabha. I'm like, I come to Mangal Artik every day. I follow the 4 regular principles. I read the books. I chant my rounds. This isn't fair. I'm a completely 100% surrendered soul. Why are you making me suffer? Right? So, I remember thinking like this feeling of entitlement. Yes, so we're not supposed to have this feeling of entitlement and demanding and a merchant mentality with Krishna. Although at the same time, if we have material desires, we're supposed to go to Krishna. We're not supposed to go to anybody else. Yes? Now, the great devotees, the pure devotees, they're completely free from this mentality. Completely. Krishna, you want to embrace me, you want to trample me, I still love you. I don't ask anything from you except for service. Nadanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitamba, jagadisha kamaya. I mean, food isn't mentioned there, but I suppose that could be included in dhanam, in wealth. If you have money, you can buy food. I'm not asking you for anything at all. I'm just asking to be your servant. I'm not even asking to stop taking birth again. That's tough, isn't it? How many of us are willing to say, yes, I'm willing to take birth again? Prabhupada actually said, don't take your birth again and again in this Kali Yuga. But to have that mood that Krishna, I just want to serve you, even if I have to kita janmahoy, even if I have to be a bug to serve you. And then we know pure devotees, and this reminds us of the verse I spoke on before about the gopis being cold. The pure devotees aren't feeling these whips of hunger and thirst and fatigue, and they're not actually controlled by the material urges of the body. When we get hungry, we get grumpy, isn't it? Right? Or when we get tired, we get grumpy. And if we're hungry, tired, and thirsty, right, we might put a dead snake around someone's neck if we think they insult us. I mean, we're not reasonable people if our bodily needs are not met. We become extremely selfish. Isn't that a fact? We lose our empathic capacity in the very famous book Night by Elie Wiesel, who won some kind of, I don't remember, Nobel Prize or Pulitzer Prize or something. Anyway, so he was brought to the concentration camps to Auschwitz when he was 15. He, his father, his mother, and his two sisters. And as soon as they entered the camps, his mother and his two sisters were thrown alive into a pit of fire in front of his eyes when he was 15. And he had been a very, very religious person. At that time, at that moment, he became an atheist. Again, the merchant mentality. If you make me suffer, I'm going to hate you. So he and his father stayed in the camps, and when the Allies were coming into Germany, the Germans wanted to clean out the camps. They wanted to not have anyone see evidence of what they had done. So they were taking all the prisoners out of the camps deeper into Germany, away from the Allied forces. So they're moving these people in cattle cars, open cattle cars, and this was in the middle of the winter. There was snow falling into the cars, and the people had been on a starvation diet. They were given just enough food so that they could do some manual labor for the Reich, but it would eventually kill them. They were being starved over a very long period of time. So everybody was literally skin and bones and very weak, and they're crushed together in these cattle cars. It's freezing cold. The snow's coming in, and of course they're urinating and defecating right there in the car. And there's nothing for them to eat or drink. They're in the car for like 3 days, and they're trying to scrape some of the snow off to drink it. And as they would go through German towns, the Germans, people would throw food in the cars the way people would throw food to like ducks in the water. And you know how you would throw food to ducks and you might laugh to see the birds fighting over the food? Did you ever do that when you were a kid? Like throw food to some creatures, and when they're fighting over it, you're laughing. And so they were throwing the food in there and laughing at how these people were fighting over it. And Elie Wiesel said that he saw this one other young man who was with his father fight for the food so vigorously that he ended up killing his own father in the process. And Elie Wiesel was shocked, and he was like, I hope I never get to that point. And I remember I was studying this as an undergrad, and the professor asked us, what do you think you would do? And I'm like, I don't know. I hope I never have to find out. At what point that our bodily necessities are being deprived, do we become so self-centered and so selfish and so lost in empathy and connection, right? And we just lose all of our higher qualities. We become, in effect, even lower than animals. Yeah. So the pure devotees, they're not affected like that. They're not affected like that at all. I mean, even we have Hiranyakashipu as a yogi who was able to go without eating and drinking and just became bones and just stayed in his bones. What to speak of the pure devotees? They're not going to be moved around by these bodily necessities. They're not going to end up going to their lower nature. That's why it says that non-devotees have no good qualities, because we have good qualities until we're pushed to the edge, isn't it? We have good qualities, we have good qualities, we have good qualities, we have good qualities, and something pushes us, and poof, our good qualities are gone. And they were so embarrassed. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? But these cowherd boys, they're above. I mean, they're far above Brahman realized persons. They're above the residents of Vaikuntha, like we were reading in the Kaliya pastime. In Ananda Vrindavan Champu, when Krishna's in Kaliya for 2 hours, and Balaram says, Krishna, Krishna, stop this pastime. All the residents of Vrindavan will die. And they're not your Vaikuntha associates. They're not your Ayodhya associates. These are the residents of Vrindavan. So how far are they above liberation from being pushed around by the bodily necessities? But here they are in this Nara Leela, this human-like Leela, acting like ordinary humans who are like, we're hungry and it's hurting us. And hey, demon killer, you ought to be feeding us. You should. You ought to. We're your friends. Why are you making us suffer? And so therefore, this personalistic philosophy is hidden from most of the world. Manushinam sahasreshu kaschadhyati siddhayatitamapi siddhanam kaschimam veti tattvatam. Most people cannot understand personal philosophy. It doesn't make any sense to them. They immediately superimpose their material experiences onto it and try to understand it in that way, which is why the literature written by our acharyas is not for public consumption, most of it. Most of the Leela literatures that our acharyas have written, you can't distribute that to people in general. They'll take it as something mundane. I mean, not just Rasalila, but even this. And it's really only because of Srila Prabhupada. It's only because of Srila Prabhupada. It's only because of Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada produced Krishna book very early in the movement, in Nectar Devotion, which have these pastimes, but he interweaves philosophy into them so we understand them correctly. Right? Krishna says in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this world's like an upside down banyan tree. Reflection of a tree in the water that's shimmering. And so this, hey, I'm hungry, I'm your friend, why don't you feed me, is a reflection of some reality where there's no merchant mentality, there's no loss of good qualities. It's just actually love. It's just love. The boys know that Krishna likes to be a hero. They know that Balaram and Krishna, they like to show off their heroism. It's a natural thing for boys to do. They know that. We have some idea in this world that you might go to the house of a friend and say, hey, I'm hungry. You going to feed me something? Not because we're merchants, but just out of affection. That it's just play. They don't have material bodies that need to be sustained with blood and bile, and it's not like that. It's just simply an exchange of love. And Krishna likes being the maintainer and the sustainer of his devotees. He enjoys it. Yogakshema vidam yaham. He likes personally taking care of. Don't we like to take care of people? Whenever Leela Shakti cooks, she always wants to make sure I eat. Hey, Urmila, take some prasadam. And then I know she cooked. It's natural, isn't it? Isn't it? You cook something, you want to give it to people. You want people to come to your place and sit down and relax, and you take care of them. We like doing that. Well, guess what? We're part of Krishna. He likes doing that. Prabhupada says in the story of Jambavan that Krishna has all the basic tendencies of any human beings. We have it because he has it. And the cowherd boys know that too. Krishna likes to arrange to feed us. He enjoys that. Some of the 6 symptoms of surrender are to accept the Lord as your maintainer and accept the Lord as your protector. And so when Mahaprabhu is saying, Krishna, 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 hey, Krishna, 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 hey, Krishna, Krishna, Rakshamam, Rama, Raghava, Pahimam, Krishna, Keshava, Rakshamam. Rakshamam, Pahimam means protect me, maintain me. Not as a merchant. Not like that. But just out of affection. Out of affection. It's a father wants to take care of his children. A husband wants to take care of his wife. If the husband feels, yes, my wife needs me to take care of her, then he feels enlivened. So Krishna feels enlivened like that. It's just this exchange. And also, of course, there's this pastime about to come up, which is going to be facilitated by everyone, including the trees, to glorify the yogic, the wives of the yogic brahmanas, and to show the difference between pure bhakti and ritualistic following. So that's also happening, whether the cowherd boys consciously know that they're facilitating that lila or not. Still, that's what they're doing. They're giving that kind of impetus. So this exchange of love, we're trying to do that in this world. We're trying with so many jivas to have this kind of sweet thing of, oh, I'd like to feed you. And oh, I'm hungry. Will you feed me? And would you take care of me? And I'd like to take care of you. We're trying to do that in this world. And it often doesn't work very well. We end up thinking, God, I did this for you and this for you and this for you and this for you. And what have you done for me? No, it's not just Jewish. No, I'm not just Jewish. It's like, people shoot each other even, isn't it? Isn't it like half of homicides are between former, spouses and lovers? And I gave you the house, I gave you the car, I gave you this, I gave you that. And you didn't appreciate me, bam, bam, bam. So we're trying in this world to have this, and we're so frustrated, and we may think, well, let it all be finished. But it exists in its pure form, where it's just sweet. And, Krishna likes having his devotees tell him what he should do. I don't like anybody telling me what I should do. But that they're telling him, you ought to do this. And he's like, yeah, sure. Because God's always the big boss telling everybody else what they should do. You should do this, and this is his role, as God. And Krishna likes it when Mother Yasoda tells him what he should do, and the cowherd boys tell him what he should do, and the gopis tell him what he should do. They order him. The gopis are saying, oh, Krishna, would you comb my hair? Would you put my jewelry on? You really should do this. And the Mother Yasoda is saying, Krishna, you should give your father his shoes. Krishna's carrying them on his head. Oh, this is pure love, where the cowherd boys just want to make Krishna happy. So that's what we're supposed to be practicing, our sadhana bhakti. It's not exactly just the externals. It's not exactly just that, I move my fingers on the bead and I chant the mantra, or I wave the flower. And it's practicing this mood of, let me fall in love with Krishna and let me think about Krishna's happiness. And if honestly I need to say to Krishna, hey, Krishna, would you give me some food? At least to do it out of affection. Many years ago in New Zealand, I was walking back to my room and I was thinking, I'd really like some cashews. And I got to my room and somebody had put a bag of cashews on my doorknob with a rubber band. And I just thought, wow, Krishna's so cool. So, if we do need to ask the Lord for a wife or a husband or money or a car or health or cashews or whatever we want to ask, at least to have some affection and this mood of, let me make Krishna happy. Yes, Maharaj. Oh, no. Yeah, Sanatana Goswami, was it Rupat Sanatan? Rupat Sanatan. Right. Well, especially he took service from Radharani, because they're Radharani's maidservants, and so their whole mood is to serve Radharani. He said, don't take any service from Krishna. But then they do take service. They do tell Krishna to serve them, too. They do. They order him around. Yes. Oh. Oh. Okay, so Mars is saying that Vidura did walk away when he was insulted. But see, he wasn't just insulted, because he had been insulted for years. Duryodhan said, leave him with only his breath. That meant they were going to beat him to the point that he was about to die. At that point, yes, please walk away. It was the same with Bibhishan when Ravana threatened to imprison him. And yes, Shuji Priya Radha. can you tell people that if you chant this mantra, all your desires will be fulfilled? Yes, definitely. Well, the Bhagavatam itself gives all kinds of interesting benedictions. There's many stories in the Bhagavatam that say if you read this, you'll be, you'll conquer the world. That's there in the Shastra, sorry. Yeah, the Gornitai has happy dolls, yes. Mm. But then there was a time with Back to Godhead where devotees were giving mundane reasons for chanting, and Prabhupada was furious. Prabhupada was very angry. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna's cowherd boys ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.